Let us execute an immediate, sweeping, analytical vector shift away from the elite metropolitan penthouse suites, weaponized corporate inheritance schemes, and prenuptial extortion loops of high society financial suspense, and plunge straight into the high-octane, calculation-heavy tracking grids of idyllic Californian mountain foothills, weaponized home invasions, and the fiercely protective, dangerously fragile world of an elite maternal defense asset running a raw tactical survival loop. We are crossing the threshold directly into the hyper-monitored, panic-inducing residential corridors of a seemingly charmed family estate, exploring the lethal analytical parameters of an intense, trust-shattering deception matrix within her eyes, the exceptional, pulse-pounding structural masterpiece engineered by the absolute undisputed sovereign of razor-sharp domestic tension, dark family unreliability statecraft, and high-velocity psychological paranoia, Sarah Alderson. This high-stakes narrative tracking sequence delivers an exceptional look at an operational crossroads where a fierce, underestimated mother asset running an unyielding safety loop, a calculating hidden criminal shadow network executing a targeted threat campaign, and an absolute defense of a comatose daughter's final personal sovereignty metrics collide at terminal velocity. Let us map the strategic narrative grid. If you are an elite enthusiast of high-octane, slow-burn psychological thrillers, where an endangered, hyper-observant female protagonist must navigate an absolute maze of rigged family finances, corrupt childhood connections, and a deadly ring of active residential frame-ups while running a blind survival loop inside a completely compromised domestic ecosystem, where an analytical mind uses deep behavioral profiling, calculated counter-surveillance boundaries, and absolute emotional stamina to outmaneuver an invisible predatory stalker network, and where the author utilizes an incandescent, perfect mother's world is shattered by a brutal home invasion, leaving her daughter in a coma, only to realize her husband's lies made them a deliberate target, diagnostic routine to test our hero's structural limits. This book is engineered to lock you in. Alderson completely dominates the high-precision maternal instinct red flags meets suffocating domestic paranoia dynamic, capturing the heart-racing intellectual momentum, suffocating domestic paranoia, and heavy deductive depth popularized by genre arcs like B.A. Paris, Gillian Flynn, Rachel Abbott, and Kara Hunter, while treating realistic ballistic forensic logistics, complex medical ward alignment arcs, and protective high-density psychological extraction grids with absolute technical mastery. The narrative tracking grid zeroes in on the highly volatile, calculation-heavy baseline of our central legendary powerhouse asset, Ava, operating under a severe, calculation-heavy handicap of intense emotional trauma, a profound memory block surrounding the incident, and a hyper-visible targeting canvas within her upper-class neighborhood database. Behind her rigorous domestic database footprints and tense personal history logs lies an intricate matrix of hidden faction allegiances, deeply buried high-society secrets, and sharp, high-stakes tactical maneuvers. Her collective defense mechanisms are locked down tight behind a lifetime of trying to shield her children and navigating a complex household structure, her entire analytical focus strictly consumed by monitoring sudden threat vectors from an aggressive local investigator who happens to be a tactical ghost from her high school past, parsing complex behavioral shifts from her secretive husband, and shielding her vulnerable child node from being entirely wiped out by a ruthless elite cleanup offensive. The spark ignites when an unexpected high-frequency structural anomaly breaches her active scanning perimeter. A violent calculated assault breaches her home security lines, leaving her youngest daughter, June, fighting for survival in an intensive care capsule. As the hostile adversarial execution phases enter an increasingly lethal terminal tier across her ticking clock timeline, she discovers the attack was entirely intentional, triggered by her husband Robert's catastrophic financial debts and hidden deceptive loops. The official diagnostic metrics of the global tracking centers flash white-hot when her unauthorized internal tracking maneuvers and raw deductive output reveal that a powerful network of lies extending into her closest circles is radically and possibly altering her household's historical balance of power. The standard boundaries of routine marital trust and peaceful civilian compliance protocols crumble, and our central protagonists run completely out of standard diplomatic escape vectors. They are thrust directly into an active invisible war across the hospital corridors and hidden properties, where deceptive family entities masking their true coordinates, highly manipulative local handlers, and a calculation-heavy psychological shadow network launch aggressive countermeasures to permanently suppress their survival data stream. The tactical parameters instantly explode as their historical and survival warfare turns completely active, transforming the isolated recovery rooms, dark suburban mountain roads, and private fortified residential rooms into a volatile psychological pressure cooker and a physical battle zone. Our protective, hyper-vigilant heroine is forced to deploy her massive intuitive tradecraft, elite behavioral mapping skills, and raw maternal stamina to preserve her focus before her adversary's relentless, calculation-heavy proximity containment phase permanently deletes her boundaries. The threat vector remains purposeful and resolute, determined to deploy deep digital extortion loops, localized psychological sabotage, and persistent dominance to rewrite her personal metrics, only to realize her hardened defensive protocols and shifting counter-narratives match her opponent's raw tactical speed step for step. Every midnight forensic archival excavation, every silent choice to stand off against an encroaching adversary behind standard architectural barriers, and every intense moment of channeling raw, unyielding survival mechanics chips away at her reliance on original peaceful rules. What follows is an exceptional high-stakes war of perspective, tactical position, and raw human grit. We watch the suburban elite's deceptive perimeters completely unwrapped as Sarah Alderson reveals that the true victory requires more than just surviving an initial break-in or managing a difficult marital disclosure. It demands an absolute, uncompromising defense of individual dignity, personal truth, and systemic survival against a cold, calculating machine of domestic manipulation and psychopathic supremacy. While our central characters smooth over each other's psychological and defensive blind spots with devastating analytical force, creating a fiercely protective, absolute web of dark possessive loyalty around their shared family bond, a brutal series of close-quarters tactical confrontations and high-stakes evidentiary breakthroughs shifts the clock into its terminal phase, proving that historical emotional hazards have tracked them to their final outpost. To survive the impending locked grid trap and permanently secure her sanctuary, our resilient heroine must unleash an absolute, unyielding defense of her final boundary lines. It is a psychological thriller, domestic suspense noir, family secret mystery, and high-velocity contemporary puzzle masterpiece that treats deep relational logistics and intense structural friction with elite precision. The tension here burns with a sharp, calculation-heavy intensity. We are talking about that high-frequency, one-suppressed financial record triggers a fatal home standoff energy, where a sudden pause during an active franchise tactical briefing, an unexpected shift in an adversary's protective physical posture during a high-stakes standoff confrontation, or a heavy possessive realization that an elite intelligence operative has completely mapped your personal coordinates carries massive structural weight. Alderson writes with an exceptionally fresh, vivid, and beautifully blunt voice, capturing the heavy, oppressive atmosphere of a private executive vault before a major corporate takeover, and the distinct, subtle scent of polished mahogany, damp mountain pine, sterile hospital gauze, heavy rain, dynamic adrenaline, spilled copper, and pure, unadulterated suspense. What truly elevates this contemporary standalone marvel into elite territory is the author's unmatched ability to balance complex, high-stakes relationship dynamics and genuine protective power tradecraft alongside a breathtaking narrative pace and deep emotional hooks. Our protagonists don't rely on unbelievable, superficial Hollywood superhero action tropes. Their immense situational intelligence, strategic patience, and profound survival instincts match the complexity of the chaotic modern corporate and high society underworld they dominate step for step, making their choices to risk everything feel profoundly authentic and deeply gripping. The pacing moves with calculated momentum, tracking intense conversational standoffs and breathtaking tactical breakthroughs before ratcheting up to an absolute jaw-dropping conclusion that delivers total hard-earned advancement to their horizon. In Her Eyes is the definitive pro-level upgrade your high-stakes contemporary thriller and intense asset suspense library demands right now. It is elegant, immensely fast-paced, and utterly unputdownable. It proves that when your entire sanctuary is targeted by a cold, calculating institutional monster, the most revolutionary play you can execute is to lock your perimeters, trust your elite survival training, and fight like hell alongside your network to rewrite the data. So, secure your personal reading sanctuary, review your emotional defensive perimeters, open your Kindle, and prepare to track the fleet.